Well, welcome back to CryptosRUs. I am George. We're all George. So, this morning is not looking very bright so far. Extreme fear for Bitcoin and US markets. So, let's discuss what's going on this morning and what may be coming for the rest of this week. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that notification bell to get notified of all my streams. And also follow me on social media. Follow me on CryptosRUs.com and the brand new CryptosRUs Clips channel. Welcome, guys. Good morning. Good morning. It's one of those days where you just got to step back and take a breather. And that's really what you need to do. Because right now, U.S. markets in the futures markets, not looking good. Dow down another 300 points, and NASDAQ close to 300 too, another negative 2%. And it has been going down and down and down and down. Unfortunately, it's putting more pressure on Bitcoin and crypto. Bitcoin is now at 32.7. Basically, if you zoom out, it's the same point. Roughly the same point, a little bit lower than the previous low back in January 24th of this year. So we're right around there. So unfortunately, we have made a new low for this year. So what does that mean exactly? Does that mean that Bitcoin is dead and Bitcoin is going to be dead forever like so many people are now saying? No, that's not what it means at all. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay, but first, I did want to talk about this because I did make a big deal about this, and I think many people were looking for something really bad to come out of Putin and Russia today. And fortunately, we did not. Fortunately, Putin didn't do much at all. So it was very highly speculated that he may officially declare war. He may do something else more drastic. And guess nothing, none of that happened. So basically, he held a speech saying that this invasion was prompted by the West, trying to take over Russia's territories, and he had no choice but to basically fight back. Okay, so he kind of referred a lot of rhetoric to World War II and the Nazis and defeating the Nazis and all that stuff. But overall, he didn't say anything new. He didn't go more on the offense. He didn't declare victory. He didn't declare war. Nothing like that. So at the very least, we have this and how this didn't escalate because many were preparing for the worst, that something else might have happened. So just want to give you guys an update on that. So nothing on the war front that has gotten any worse than it already is. So that is good. I did also notice this, and this is never good. When the 10-year Treasury goes up and up and up and up, which it did today again, it means there's a lot of fear out there, right? It means that there are a lot of people that are actually selling off their investments like stocks and crypto and buying a 10-year Treasury bond at a yield of 3%, which is roughly 5% less than the current inflation rate. Okay, but I guess many traders feel like this is a better alternative than sitting on stocks, which are going down and getting decimated right now. But something interesting to show you guys. Is even though this has been going up, right? 5 days, yes, it's been going up. You could argue 1 month is going up, 3 months is going up, 6 months is going up, right? But this is where it gets interesting. You go 1 year, and you start noticing that trend. You go 5 years, and you're like, oh, okay. So it's actually less than 5 years. And you go you'll notice that going back to 1980s, the Treasury bond was actually at like 15. So you know what this reminds me of? The dollar, basically. If you look at a chart of a dollar and its buying power over the years, pretty much looks like this. Even though short term, yes, the rate on the bonds is going up, but long term, what's happening? It's going down and down and down, just like the dollar, right? So I don't know, just a general observation there. decided to share with you guys. All right, and then speaking of decimation, like in terms of this morning, a lot of stocks reported. One that's of particular interest to me is Rivian, and Ford decided to sell 8 million of their 102 million stake in it, and that just caused it to dump about 13% in pre-market. Market bell. All right, market is opening right now. And of course, when there's fear, everything goes down. Tesla's down another 3%. All right. So that's the stuff I want to cover from, I don't know, general news, I would say. But what about going back to Bitcoin, right? There's no doubt so much fear out there, okay? If you look at fear and greed index, as expected, it has dropped to almost, it dropped to 11. And I was going to say almost to all-time low, but that's not the case. I have seen 10 before. But normally, anything in the 10s is really, really bad. Yesterday, it was at 18, updated to 11, right? So there's just a ton of fear right now. And rightfully so, because if you look at it, this is the very first 6-week losing streak. Yes, it has been 6 consecutive losing weeks for Bitcoin. It seems like an eternity. The 6 weeks seems like it's 6 years. First time since 2014. 2014. So yes, it has been pretty brutal over the last 6 weeks, especially within the last 2 weeks, which seems to have escalated even more. And you look at the number of liquidations out there, tons. As Bitcoin drops, there's just hundreds of millions. And this is just measuring Bitcoin. If you measure Ethereum and all the others, I'm sure it adds up to billions of longs being liquidated right now. Okay? So yes, it does look bad. Looks bad all around, right? Ooh. Getting a little spike. Nothing to be excited about. But yes, it does look very bad. But this is something that Bitcoin has seen before. This is something that we have seen before. At least some of us have. The ones that have been in the game for many years. We have seen this before. We have seen extreme fear for Bitcoin. Yes, we have. Even in 2021. We've seen it time and time again. Every time when it seems like all hope is lost, that everything was going to crash to zero, and that there's no way we're going to get a recovery, we do. And I'm going to show you some of the negatives and show you why it's a positive. First of all, number of addresses in a profit has reached a 19-month low. Okay, and that's because Bitcoin, where it is now, right around 33,000, it's not good. So a lot of people are actually not making as much money as before, right? And of course, that's not good. But why it could be good is because if you look at this same scenario versus 2021, which I just mentioned, when Bitcoin fell to 28,000, the same thing happened. The number of addresses in profit dropped to a significant low level, and then boom, that was when things reversed. Kind of like right now, right? I made this correlation with 2021 many times in my stream because it feels exactly the same way. In 2021, it just seemed like it was a little bit quicker. So it was like ripping off a Band-Aid a little bit faster, but we still had a tremendous crash in 2021. And we crashed to 28.8, which we are still above right now. Not saying that we won't get there. Maybe there is a chance because of all the fear that's out there. But we have seen this before. So the number of address and profit, yes, unfortunately has dipped to basically the same level as 2021. And we have seen other periods when it has dipped to this level. And generally speaking, going all the way back to 2011, when the number of addresses in a profit is this low, we get a tremendous run upwards. Okay, so this is turning a negative into a positive, right? And this is one of the ones one of the reasons why we need to stay in the game. Because sometimes it just seems like all hope is lost, and then it's not. And then it reverses, and then you'll miss out on one of the biggest recoveries there is, just like in 2021 and just like all the times before, right? This is talking about basically Bitcoin's hash rate. And again, this proves that the miners are not selling. There's a lot of speculation that miners may soon capitulate and sell off like they have in previous times. And that's just not the case. Not the case. If you're looking at it, miners are still continuing to mine, continuing to bring up more power, which is why the hash rate and difficulty continues to go up. So are the miners capitulating? No. Nowhere close to that. Okay, so we could just remove that from the equation right now. Plan B also talks about RSI. Many people look at this indicator as a bottom indicator, right? And we are getting to that point again where Bitcoin is extremely, extremely, extremely oversold. And then, generally speaking, it bounces, okay? And this is a better representation of that. If you look at some of the previous times, again, like in 2021, when it seemed like all hope was lost, and back then, when we hit 28.8, people said, for sure, we're going to hit 20,000. For sure, it was going to happen, right? Well, it didn't. And right now, it's kind of the same thing. People are like, well, for sure, we're going to go down to 28 or 27 or 20 or whatever. Just like before. Like, for sure. Whenever people tell you for sure it's going to happen, most likely it's not going to happen, right? But again, measuring the RSI level on a longer, I think this is weekly or monthly scale, probably weekly scale, shows that Bitcoin is oversold. And again, at the same point as previous times when it had a tremendous bounce. So again, okay, whenever someone tells you it's going to happen for sure, it normally doesn't. And there's just a lot of fearful and bears out there right now, okay? And something else I showed you guys just not too long ago about the fear and greed index. At 11 is not good. It's not good at all. So many people are fearful right now. But why this is good is because if you go down and you look at all the periods when fear was at extreme level like this at 11, guess what happened during those times, right? Bitcoin found a bottom and continued upwards. Every single time there's a clump of extreme fear, that's when Bitcoin comes back up. Just like in 2021. We were there for quite some time, right? Extreme fear levels. Only a few times did we ever dip to 10 or 11 where we are now. But the longer we stayed there, the more likely Bitcoin was going to flip, because that was kind of like a retail capitulation stage. The retail have just completely left the game, right? And you could see basically for the last 6 weeks, we've been seeing something similar to that, where we had this basically just this period of going sideways, driving retail out, and now we have fallen to extreme fear level. And whenever this happens, generally speaking, that is when we mark a bottom for Bitcoin. So again, something else that is positive, a negative into a positive, right? And, that's really, really it. I mean, Bitcoin can fall more for sure. There's no doubt that it can, because right now the markets are just so fearful. So fearful, okay? Wall Street, everyone is so fearful, trying to sell, right? But what do we do when there's extreme fear out? When there's extreme fear out, that's when you buy, okay? I know that so many people are telling you, don't buy, don't buy, don't buy. It's going to go lower, it's going to go lower. And it could. They could be right. But from my experience, half the time they're right, half the time they're wrong. And some of those times when they're wrong, they make people miss out on a tremendous recovery. Just like in 2021 when we hit 28,000, right? No one knows top or bottom. No one knows. But the only way that I found that truly works when it comes to investing, crypto or even stocks, is really to find the projects or companies you believe in, the ones that are continuing to execute despite volatility and downwards movement, right? And you have patience and DCA and HODL. Really, that is it. So I've been DCAing with you guys throughout this period, not going all in, just little dabs here and there, right? I will continue to do so. And the lower things go, if they do go lower, the cheaper the prices that gets presented to us, and then I'll be able to DCA a little bit more and bring the cost average down. And that is what you're supposed to do, right? So I'm hoping you guys stay strong. It's a very fearful time, but I'm not giving up. I'm going to continue my ways. I've learned from the past. I've learned through experience that these periods, although scary at the time, we always pass through, and then we just generally forget about it. But I don't forget about it because I do this every single day. So I don't forget about it. So I know that we have gone through this many times in 2021, in 2020, in 2019, 18, 17. You just keep going back. Every single year we go through this, and we come out stronger. All right? So hopefully you guys are staying strong as well. And if you don't have any cash to DCA, well, then you could follow Michael Saylor and go get a job at McDonald's and hustle and get some side money, whatever. I'm glad to see that Michael Saylor has a sense of humor, because whenever it gets really bad and people like to troll on him, like he's going to be working at McDonald's, he's like, what the heck? You know, I might as well do it myself. So there are a lot of people that are still looking towards Michael Saylor, and some that are worried about how he may be margin called at 21,000, right? Rest assured, I think Michael Saylor is going to be just fine. Not going to be working at McDonald's. But the point of this is, hey, if you don't have cash, you don't have side money, you don't have any spare money to be able to buy these dips, right? You got to figure it out. You got to hustle. Get a side job, go get a side gig, maybe work a little more at your current job, or do something else, right? Because you have to figure out how to continue forward. If you don't, you can continue to hodl, but it's better if you are able to. All right, guys, that is pretty much it. Little spike, but nothing to brag about. I mean, it's just, this is just not looking good. All right, let's do some Q&A. William Tur. Oh, I'm glad to hear it. Well, thank you. I'm glad to hear that. All right. Scrolling up here. Someone said load it up on XRP. Well, at this point, I can't disagree with you there. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you guys notice altcoins have been getting weaker and weaker and weaker. Altcoins, you know, even though Bitcoin has been pretty weak, altcoins have been absolutely murdered, okay? And this is a gentle reminder of what happens to altcoins. Because generally speaking, a lot of people come in during the good. And during the good, altcoins always rallies hard every single time, more so than Bitcoin. Right? But the reason why I've always stressed 50, 25, 25 for portfolio allocation is what's going on right now. Basically, it is because Bitcoin provides that stability, provides that strength when there's a market weakness or correction, whatever you want to call it, right? So right now, Bitcoin is definitely holding much stronger than altcoins. And people that are too heavy in altcoins are getting absolutely wrecked, right? So this is the reason why I always stress, you got to hold Bitcoin in your portfolio. Too many people don't hold any Bitcoin, and they're all in on altcoins, especially the smaller, riskier ones that go up very fast and come down very fast too, right? So use this as a learning lesson to realize that, yeah, you need to hold some Bitcoin in your portfolio, not just all altcoins, right? But with that said, there are definitely a lot of great buys right now. I've been saying that for a while, but yes, there are a lot of great buys. You look at year to date, which we're almost halfway through the year already, which is really amazing. But Bitcoin's down about 30%. Of course, that means it's a good buy. But you look at some of these others, Ethereum's down about 36%. Solana down 60%, Cardano down 52%, Avalanche down 57%, Polkadot 58%. Some of these are terrific, terrific buys. Even Luna at 34% now. They've gotten a little bit weaker recently. Polygon at 65%, Algo at 62%, Cosmos at 60%. Just think about it. Think about it. You can now buy something. It's like you went back in time. You can now buy something that is 50 to 60% less than just 5 months ago, right? So 5 months ago, when these were 50, 60% higher, had someone told you, hey, you can now buy this for 50 or 60% off, would you? And the answer is yes, everyone would, right? So now we're at that point. So think about that. You buy low and you sell high, right? But it doesn't mean that you go all in. I think that's the biggest mistake people make is they go all in when things drop. They're like, yes, I'm DCAing, but they spent all their money. They can't DCA anymore. And if it goes down, then they feel miserable like they made a mistake. But you don't feel like it's a mistake if you have that cash pile still so that you could DCA over long term. Then you could see that dollar cost averaging working where it brings down your costs. So when we recover, you benefit, right? So just want to throw that out there. Daniel Hawkins says, been DCAing CRO and Phantom, it's gut-wrenching. Well, hopefully you continue on and you will see the benefits in the future, right? Just maybe sprout your buys a little bit more. Don't go too heavy with your DCAs because we just don't know where the bottom is. It could go lower, but that just means we have a greater buying opportunity. Why isn't Matic considered L1? Mika, I do consider L1, but it started out as an L2. That's why people still call it L2. But L2 just means that it's a scaling solution for Ethereum. It's EVM compatible, Solidity compatible. I mean, it follows the same protocols, right? But I do consider it L1 because their ecosystem is huge, huge. And even if Ethereum moves to 2.0 and becomes scalable and it's what people want it to be, even if that happens in the future, I think Polygon will still continue to thrive. So that's why I consider them an L1. I'll just leave this picture up. What's your thoughts on unloading my dead stock sneakers to have more cash? I don't know what dead stock sneakers is. I don't know if that's if you're trolling or that's actually a real valuable sneaker. I don't know. But right now, having more cash to DCA is definitely advisable, okay? To have more cash, have that cash pile. I've been talking about 20, 25, 30%. If you can get there and maintain that, that is optimal for the conditions we're in right now because that's how you keep going. You keep yourself motivated. You get yourself excited about these dips so that you can dollar cost average and bring your cost down, right? And the only way to get excited about dips is to have cash. Because if you don't and you're just holding, well, it's okay, but you're not as motivated. So it's important to get that cash pile. And I've been talking about that for a long time. And I'll make sure to talk more about it when we do recover up and we do hit a new high and continue forward. I will stress the importance of taking profits so that you maintain that 20, 25, 30% cash. Because I think even going forward, that is going to be the real strategy I follow. No matter what happens, up or down, keeping that cash pile on hand. That way you don't have to time top or bottom. You're able to keep going, right? And DCAing for the long haul. What do you think about liquid staking Sol for MSOL? I mean, Morgan, liquid staking is fine, but just be careful because a lot of liquid staking providers are very, very new. So there's a risk there. But other than that, I mean, staking is good, especially during down periods. Liquid staking is just an extension of that, and you could use that in, in other liquidity pools. But there's an elevated risk there. Let's just say it that way. Can you lend me a few quid? Nah, no. Maybe get a job at McDonald's like Michael. UST Luna, yes. Big fan of Luna. Recently, they got some, I don't know, it's not FUD, but recently it seemed like some whales tried to destabilize UST, tried to depeg it, and they tried really, really, really hard, and they were not able to. Okay, so it always happens. People try to kind of wreck the system for their advantage, but honestly, it didn't really work. We have seen that with other projects like Phantom and Near, and there's probably others, right? But I believe in Terra. Jeff, appreciate it. Always do. Can any other project, Joe asked, can any other project get to Ethereum level in 5 to 10 years? Or is that not realistic? Joe, I think that is actually very realistic. 5 years is a long time, right? But the only way that's going to happen is if Ethereum continues to fail and fail and fail. Meaning that this 2.0 transition still has not happened. Supposed to be in Q3, right? And say they push it to Q4, and then they push it to 2023. Even afterwards, they have to figure out how to scale. Proof of stake itself does not figure out scaling. They still need to scale afterwards. And say that takes another year or 2 or 3, right? If they keep delaying, progress, then others will catch up, certainly within 5 years. Others like BNBs, they're smart. Binance Chain and Solana and Cardano will probably be done by then. And Terra and Avalanche, these guys are not sitting idle. They're stealing market share as we speak, right? So it really depends on if Ethereum can continue to execute or not. If they continue to execute flawlessly, then they have a really good shot within the next 5 to 10 years still being the biggest L1. But if they don't, then we have a really good shot of someone else overtaking them. The Aussie ETF news, the last time I looked into it, it seems like they have still stalled. So there's still some issues that they're looking at. I don't know what it is. I mean, it was an issue about like the broker, and now there's different stuff that they're looking at. I don't know why it all came at the last second. So still, they're still pending. Cardano, does ADA going to build their own stablecoin? Yes. Well, not them. Cody did for them. DJET. DJET is their stablecoin, which is in testnet right now. Flux project is decentralized storage. I think they're not storage, decentralized computing. I think they're good. Not the sexiest project, but they work with a lot of others to kind of get their nodes hosted. I know they just partnered up with Terra recently. They partnered up with Cadena before and several other smaller projects. So overall, they have promise. Gas fees says suddenly some massive news will come out of nowhere and the trend turns. I mean, it always happens, right? That's why I said earlier, whenever everyone says something must happen, generally speaking, it doesn't happen, okay? So that's why I think it's best to just continue your ways in DCA. That's what I'm doing because you just don't know. Can we go lower? Sure. Can we go back to 28.8, which was our low in 2021? Sure. At this point, it's not too far off. Can we hit 30? Yes. But can we also suddenly reverse upwards? Yes, that can happen too. You just don't know, right? So that's why DCA is the only way to really survive this market. And again, you got to have that cash pile and you sprout your buys. That's the way to do it. It serves no one good to try to panic sell. It never happens. It never turns out good. Even if you do catch it right, let's just say you catch it right, you panic sell at right now, and it does go a little bit lower, right? What it's going to end up happening is you will spend literally every second of every day looking at a price, wondering if you made a mistake, wondering if you should buy back in. It's going to add so much stress to yourself. And if it flips back above and you have to buy in at a higher price, what generally happens, you will regret that for the longest time. So it's not worth it. And normally speaking, it doesn't work either. So just stress-free DCA on a schedule, on a set percentage dip, set it and forget it. That's really the best way to survive long term. But, I recognize not everyone can do that. Not everyone can handle it. Not everyone has the cash to do so. But if you could figure it out, and that's what I'm here to try to help you guys do. If you could figure it out, you will survive this, and you will survive any correction in the future. It's really that simple. I love VeChain. I do too. They have their own stable coin too, but it's not algorithmic. So it's backed by actually USD. I think it's pegged to the USD. So unfortunately it's not, but I do think it's still a step in the right direction because they are serious about moving to DeFi, and that's why they have their own. And they're moving to their new POA 2.0, which is supposed to make things even better and faster. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Greetings from Indonesia. Yeah, the U.S. market doesn't look too good. Still, NASDAQ is down over 2%. Dow down over 1%. I mean, NASDAQ is down. Oops, I don't want to click on that. NASDAQ is down about 23%. That's the whole index, right? And if you look at individual stocks, they have been doing much, much, much worse. And unfortunately, I've said this, unfortunately, it seems like Bitcoin is tracking the NASDAQ is unfortunately because of all the Wall Street traders that are trading Bitcoin the same as a tech stock. It's not. We know that. Those of us that truly understand, we know that. But unfortunately, a lot of traders are treating it that way. And, of course, now we have a lot of whales that's causing a lot of stress and fear and uncertainty, too, with their whale games, right? Trying to drive things lower so that they can accumulate more. And yes, they have been accumulating a lot. Unfortunately, that's also happening, too. But like I said, we'll get through this. We have seen this before. Bitcoin has seen this before. And Bitcoin will come out stronger. You just have to withstand what we're going through right now. All right, guys. Smash it a like. Subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys later today, 11:45 and 8:15 or 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. All right? Have a good one, guys. Stay strong, stay positive, and stay focused. And I'll see you guys later. Take care. Bye-bye.